For the first time on television, News 13 investigates the whole story behind a toxic Superfund site in South Asheville. The EPA's Inspector General has even launched a criminal investigation into the EPA's handling of the old CTS site that dozens of Buncombe County residents believe made them sick. News 13 has followed this story for more than a decade, and now we're taking an in-depth look into contamination at the site that has recently been listed as one of the most highly prioritized Superfund sites in the country. This is News 13's special report, Buried Secrets.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Darcel Grimes.
And I'm Larry Blunt. The Environmental Protection Agency is now investigating itself to see if it did enough to protect the people living near this hazardous waste site.
2 North Carolina lawmakers have called for a criminal investigation, and they now want EPA officials to face congressional hearings.
News 13's Mike Mason has this special investigation.
More than 3 decades have passed since the old CTS site here has been added to the list of Superfund sites. And since then, little has been done to clean it up. We've been looking into this issue for the past 4 months, digging for the truth, working to uncover what many are calling buried secrets. These are the faces of those living in the shadow of the old CTS plant.
And I moved here to live at peace.
Some battling cancer and other terminal illnesses they say was caused by exposure to toxic chemicals.
And our whole life has been destroyed.
Like trichloroethylene, or TCE.
I have a lot of problems.
Others fear they'll suffer a similar fate down the road.
Why are you not cleaning this up?
CTS, now based in Elkhart, Indiana, manufactures electronic components at plants around the world. CTS did business in Asheville from 1959 to 1986 and used TCE to clean and degrease those components. In 1990, 4 years after CTS shut down its Asheville plant, the EPA hired a company to test the site for contamination. They found toxic chemicals in the soil and water, and to this day, they haven't been cleaned up. Those who live nearby say this problem has remained buried far too long.
How do you keep going?
It's hard. It's really hard sometimes.
Dot and Larry Rice live right next door to the CTS site. Their family has owned this property since the 1950s. Larry was a highly decorated veteran. During his long career in the military, he and Dot lived near numerous military bases. When he finally retired, they settled into their South Asheville home.
We had planned, this to be our home and to leave it to our kids. And my husband had been in Vietnam, and he survived the Agent Orange.
But Larry would soon face another battle with an enemy he never saw coming.
In April of '99, my husband had been diagnosed with a brain tumor.
At the age of 61, Dot Rice now had a new full-time job taking care of her sick husband.
So he retires in November, he gets sick in April.
It wasn't long before Dot became sick herself. She was later diagnosed with skin cancer and 2 thyroid tumors.
One of my tumors, I couldn't speak for 4 months.
The Rices thought their health problems may have been genetic. After all, Dot's father-in-law, Clifford Rice, lived on the property and died of esophageal cancer a few years before. But when Dot's 21-year-old granddaughter, Devin, was given a serious diagnosis in 1999, she knew it was more than just genetics.
She had started having blurred vision and was blacking out. And then they discovered a brain tumor on her too that year.
To this day, Devin struggles to cope with problems associated with her brain tumor, which doctors have ruled inoperable. In 1990, the Rice family didn't know their well water was contaminated, but records show EPA officials did know, and for some reason failed to notify residents until 1999.
It was just unbelievable that EPA would do that.
In 1990, the EPA's Superfund division hired the company NUS to test for toxic chemicals at the CTS site. This map indicates NUS also went to the Rice's property next door and tested the sediment in their spring. The same spring that flowed into the Rice's well and supplied the family with their drinking water. The tests were positive for the toxic chemical dichloroethene, or DCE. After testing, NUS issued this report stating DCE and vinyl chloride are degradation products of TCE. Scientists we spoke would say the presence of DCE most always indicates there's also a source of TCE nearby.
It breaks down into DCE, vinyl chloride, and it is a carcinogen. It is so it is known to cause cancer.
According to the EPA, both chemicals are linked to cancer and other serious health problems. Both NUS and the EPA's records show after finding DCE in the Rice's stream, NUS did no additional testing for TCE on the Rice property. They did, however, test for both DCE and TCE in 2 of the streams on the CTS site, and both chemicals were detected. The level of TCE in the water was 16 times higher than the state's regulated limit. When NUS gathered those samples in June of 1990, they never got the Rice's permission to even test on their property. More importantly, both NUS and the EPA failed to notify the Rice's their spring water was contaminated with a chemical linked to cancer.
They knew about it.
How could they do that?
That's what I keep asking. How could you do it?
The Rice's neighbors, Mac and Becky Robinson, had also been drinking well water that came from the Rice's spring. Around that same time, they too were having serious health problems.
My thyroid shut down. I have a lot of joint and ache pains all the time, the fibromyalgia.
Becky's mother-in-law, Ethel, who lived next door, passed away suddenly in 2008. The Robinsons were shocked to learn cancer had spread throughout Ethel's pancreas, liver, and colon.
She was healthy. She was healthy as an ox.
At the time, Becky's daughter, Shannon, also began battling a series of health problems. During her childhood, Shannon had her gallbladder removed, her appendix burst, and her body was covered in cysts. At the age of 18, she became pregnant, and health records show she had even more problems.
Finally, my son, he was born 6 weeks early. I got preeclampsia and toxemia, and my liver had shut down.
EPA reports state ingesting even small amounts of TCE over a long period may cause liver and kidney damage, impaired immune system, and impaired fetal development in pregnant women. 2 years after her son was born, Shannon had another baby boy, also premature. Both boys were diagnosed with compromised immune systems. Becky herself has undergone more surgeries than most people have in a lifetime.
12 or 13, yeah, 12 or 13.
Surgeries?
Mm-hmm. And this was within a 7-year period.
Then, by the age of 24, Shannon needed a total hysterectomy. Today, at the age of 37, Shannon still relies on potent painkillers.
This is my methadone.
To cope with her medical issues.
I take it once a day.
Shannon's lifelong dream of becoming a nurse had been shattered.
She could have made something of herself.
In 1990, the Rices and Robinsons knew nothing about the testing going on next door at the CTS site. They had no reason to believe their developing health problems could be related to their water. But that would soon change.
And they have wells everywhere. Here's one.
In 1990, the Rice's friend Dave Ogren was so concerned he called North Carolina's Division of Environment and Natural Resources, or NC-DENR.
Whoa, something is not right.
This report shows Ogren told state officials he suspected the Rice's well water was contaminated by chemicals on the CTS site, and he wanted to know if that was causing their health problems.
And I just made my call and figured it's all taken care of. Everything is going to be handled.
But the state didn't contact the Rices. Even so, the Rice family felt something just wasn't right.
And we continued to smell something really bad.
It would be nearly a decade before the Rices or any other residents were told about any contamination.
We had been drinking water that EPA knew had been tested, and they knew it 9 years before we did.